It is Chef Carol here in the Nutrition Lab at Otay Elementary School in Chula Vista with the Sage Garden Project. And today we are going to be making our stone soup layer 3. So first I want you to take a look at how I've organized my desk here, my kitchen or my counter. I have all of my tools ready. I have all of my food ingredients ready. I have my mise en place ready. I've got clean hands. I've got on closed-toe shoes. And I'm gonna remember to make sure that I'm very safe and that I'm patient and take my time with what we're doing today. So in lesson number 2, we talked about that great word, which is the sixth sense, which is called umami. So today, the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna taste it. Let's see if we got some umami. Inside our stone soup, we have removed the stone because we don't need that anymore. But I do have, we added some potatoes, and that right there, that is our dried basil that we have right there. We put in some green onions. One right there. Ooh, it smells so good. We added in some garlic. We added in a little piece of ginger, and I can really smell the ginger. So that is giving me a really strong sense of smell and flavor in my soup. And I keep checking for some words. So just like you, I am still learning sometimes, and I have a growth mindset, which means sometimes I remember everything I need to do, and sometimes I've got to really think hard to remember some big words. So one of the big words we learned last week was qualitative. And qualitative observations are when we're using our senses. The way things look, the way things smell, the way things taste, the way things taste on our tongue, even the way they hear, and did I forget one thing? Maybe the way they feel. And we were striving to get that umami, that mega taste. So let's go ahead. I've got a little tasting cup here. My soup has already cooled down. Now, when I taste this, of course, part of my soup is going to be some of the vegetables and flavoring that I put in. But I'm not going to taste any of those things right now. I just want to taste the broth, which is the liquid part of the soup. So I'm going to add a little bit here. I'm going to smell it. The aroma is so good. And I already know this is just warm. It's not hot. I've let it cool down. So I'm going to give it a little taste. It's really good. But one of the strongest flavors that I can taste mostly in there is the ginger. And so I'm going to really think. I'm going to think I'm not going to add any more ginger to my flavor profile, even though the recipe today calls for more ginger or some dried ground ginger spice. I can already taste this, so I'm going to really be thinking about my flavor profile. And this is what the ginger looks like when it comes out. I am not going to add any more ginger. It already has a really strong ginger flavor, so I'm going to leave that out of my flavor profile today. But today, we're going to add some ingredients to the soup that are super duper important. So everybody make one muscle and make another and really flex it. So we're going to go like this 5 times. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can feel that muscle in your body. So we need something. We need to feed our body something that feeds our muscles and gives our body energy. So before I tell you what it is, see if you can think for a moment. What do you think we need to add to our soup in order to make it give energy to our bodies so we feel super powerful? Do you know what it is? Protein. So the soup tastes good as it is, but if we add some protein, it will give our body all the things we need and enough energy for our day. So do your own think, pair, share, or make sure you have your sous chef with you, young chefs, and you can ask your sous chef, what kind of things do I do during the day that I need energy for? I'm gonna start. I need it to breathe. I need it to sleep. I need it to wake up. I need it for my brain to function, for me to be able to work and study and to think. I need it to exercise. Chef Carol likes to swim. I need energy all day long, even when I'm sleeping. But our bodies especially need energy for physical activity and for our brains to work and think. So whenever we're eating a protein, we are flexing the best part of the ingredient and make sure that we have energy for the day. So guess what our super protein is going to be? We're going to add beans. So we are going to add to our soup today red kidney beans. And they're called kidney beans because they're shaped like the organ in our body, which is the kidney. Now, when I bought these beans, they're dried already. I could not eat them from the bag like this. They have to be prepared first. This would not taste good and would be difficult for your body to digest. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to learn how to make the beans ready, which are our protein for our soup. So there are also different types of beans that you could eat, that you could use in this recipe. There are in fact tons of beans you could use. So we could use the white beans. These are called Great Northern beans, and we would soak them just like we did the kidney beans. We could also use, these are really pretty looking, pinto beans, and we would want to soak them as well. So there's a whole variety of beans that we can use. I'm going to take both these off where my mise en place is, because it's easier for me to work when my area is nice and clean and organized. And I'm going to put this all away. Now we're going to get ready. So first thing we need to do before our beans, which are our protein, are ready to use is we need to soak them in water overnight. Now these beans have already been soaked overnight. So you can see how they've actually changed color. I'm going to hold it in my hand and you can see what happened. Look how much bigger the soaked bean is than the dried bean is. You know what happened? It absorbed all that water. We rehydrated it and it made it bigger and it made it in a way that we can eat it without it being hard for us to digest. So we have rehydrated the beans. And something else really cool I want to tell you about the beans just before I show you how to hydrate them, which means to add water to them, is that kidney beans are not only just a great sense of protein for our body to give us energy, but they're also not that expensive to buy. So it's always really great as a chef when you're making something that you can find ingredients that are less expensive to buy. And they can be stored dried just like this for a long periods of time. So there's lots of farmers that like to do that because there can be times when we have a shortage of food, and kidney beans and dried beans are great because they can be stored for a long period of time and they're not expensive to buy, and we can have them almost all year, and in some cases for many years. As long as they're stored properly, we can eat them. So I'm going to put away my kidney beans as well so I don't spill them. And now we're going to talk a little bit about how we hydrate these. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a cup, about this much, and I'm going to take a bowl like this, and I'm going to add, I'll get my beans again. I'm going to add about a cup of beans to my bowl. Now if I don't have a measuring cup like this, I can also just use a plastic cup like this. In fact, I think for today's recipe, we'll just use this cup. I'm going to put the measuring cup away. So let's take a look. We are going to have about 5 cups of water and 1 cup of dry beans. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to measure my beans into this cup, into the bowl. We're going to count. 1, in fact, we might not have as many. So we're going to actually change the recipe, which is really great for a chef to be able to do because it means they're being flexible. And I'm going to add 2 cups of dried beans. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add about 5 cups of water. But what's most important is that the water comes above the beans about 2 inches, which is about the size of your pinky. So watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to take the water, I'm going to fill this up. And what do you think? Perfect. So we've got lots of water. In fact, Chef Carol actually added too much water. Because the beans are going to expand and grow, the water level is going to rise. So I'm actually going to very carefully empty a little bit of water out. That is perfect. There we go. I've got about enough water in there, and I'm going to let these sit overnight until they expand. So I'm going to add the water back to these beans, and I'm going to show you how we strain them. So something I've neglected to tell you in the recipe is that before you use the beans, it's really important that you pour them into a strainer or a colander, which is part of your mise en place for this lesson. And you let the water run over the beans for a few minutes. And the reason that we're doing this, in fact, we're going to come over here to the sink and I'm going to show you exactly why we're doing this. All right, I'm going to let the water roll over these. That's a bit too strong because, believe it or not, very often you get little pieces of stones or sticks or sand in the beans. And I want to really do this really carefully and make sure that we're not going to be eating any stones or sticks. That's probably good enough. Let's go back to our kitchen cart. All right. So these beans are now ready to soak. So we're going to pour them back in here. We're going to pretend to add our water again, covering them, and up to, we'll need more than that so that we have about a pinky left, and we're going to let them sit overnight. After your beans have sat overnight, you're going to strain them in this colander, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. This is really fun. So, a strainer or a colander is a really great kitchen tool. I'm going to place it over my pot like this, my big bowl, and I'm going to very carefully pour all the water and all my rehydrated beans back. There we go. Give it a little shake. And now my beans are not necessarily ready to eat, but they're ready to cook. So let's put this aside. And actually, Chef Carol is going to take some of this leftover water and make sure we add it to our beans that still need to soak overnight. Lots of water, about a pinky on top, and those are ready for me to leave and soak overnight, and we'll put them aside. So we have our beans rehydrated, and they are now ready to add as another layer to our soup. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to carefully add all of these beans. Okay. And I'm going to add a little bit more flavor. But before I do, I want you guys to notice something about our soup. So as the water has been boiling, do you remember what happens to some of the water? It evaporates. So we actually need a little bit more liquid inside our soup. So I am actually going to quickly, while we take a good picture of that soup, I'm going to actually add a bit more water. I'm thinking I probably need maybe just about a cup of water. You know what? I'm going to add a second cup. Try to be nice and patient. There we go. Perfect. So I now have my protein in my soup, but I'm going to add a few other things to our flavor profile. And as you can see, I have two flavor profiles. I've got flavor profile A and flavor profile B. So let's see what I'm going to pick from flavor profile number A. One small onion. Now I already have my onion in there. Let's see if we can fish it out. There we go. I already have my onion, so I'm not going to add any more onion. Ooh, a whole carrot. I haven't added that yet. So my carrot has already been cleaned. I'm going to take my knife and I'm going to very, very carefully make that claw, stabilize it, and cut it. In fact, I think it might be best. There's my claw. Stabilize it, one piece, second piece. I'm going to put it in pieces. So I've got one carrot, very carefully putting it in, little pieces like that. What else could I add? Ooh, how about a stalk of celery? So here we have a nice cleaned stalk of celery. Again, I'm going to put it on my cutting board, stabilize it, make my claw, I'm going to cut it into pieces. Now that seems like a lot of celery for me to add, so I think I'm just going to add 2 of these pieces. 1, 2, and again, we'll save this either for the compost or for another recipe that we're making. So from Flavor Profile A, I already have that garlic in. If you remember, we added a clove of garlic, so I don't think I need anything more from Flavor Profile A. However, let me show you some things that you could add. Let me bring my beautiful basket over here. We'll take the big onion off. I'm going to show you some really cool things we could add. So we already have the green onion. We could add a mushroom. We could add it whole, or we could slice into little pieces. Chef Carol kept this whole because what does it look like? Isn't that cool? I found a mushroom and it looks just like a heart. So mushroom would give us great flavor. We could add some pieces of zucchini. We could add some parsnip. Parsnip gives soup a really interesting flavor. Ooh, this is one of Chef Carol's favorite. I won't say it yet. Maybe you know what it is because we've used it before in the nutrition lab. It smells a bit like licorice. It's called fennel. We could add some fennel. We could even add some corn. We could take off the husk and we could add the whole corn of cob to our soup for more flavor. But right now, I think that we have just enough flavor profile, and I'm really hoping that we get to that umami. So again, I'm going to turn on my heat. I'm going to let it come to a boil, and once it boils, I'm going to let it simmer. So after something boils, when you turn the temperature down and there are no more bubbles, maybe just teeny ones, that is called simmering. So again, we're going to let this boil. Once it boils, we're going to bring it down to a simmer and then let it simmer for about 5 or 10 minutes. Check your recipe really carefully to see what Chef Carol wrote. So I'm going to put my cover on. I'm going to turn this off. I'm going to double check that I covered everything I wanted to talk to you about today. And I'll see you back for stone soup layer number 4 in a few. Bye.